Without further ado, let us say hello to the pride of Northern Ireland, the one and only Carl Frampton. Hello, Carl. How are you? What are we sporting here? What is this this kit that we're sporting?
This is my Crusaders is the name of the team. So Crusaders, aka the Crews, aka the Hatchet Men. So we're a small Irish league team, like semi-professional level. But this is my local team, and this is the team that I support. Crusaders. You've never heard of them, Ariel? You've never have heard of them.
I'm a hardcore football fan. Okay, don't disrespect. I just want to know who's playing better these days, the Crusaders or Nottingham Forest. I feel like it's the Crusaders.
It probably is. It probably is.
What are they? League One, League Two, Championship? What are they?
No, we're in the Irish League, so we're like probably the equivalent of League Two.
Okay,
is about our standard.
All right. Well,
yeah, so not very good, but I mean, it's my local club, so you have to support it.
Of course, I respect you for doing so. So I can't wait to talk to you about Saturday night. I was lucky enough to be there. Tank Garcia, what a scene, what a night for boxing. I would just love to hear your thoughts off the bat. Were you surprised the way in which the fight played out? Did it surprise you?
I wouldn't say it surprised me. No, I think that I thought that. I was a bit disappointed in Garcia and how he approached the fight. I thought it was clear after not a lot happened in the first round, but it looked like he was having a decent second round, and then it was okay anyway. And he walked into a good shot, and he got dropped, and he just looked really hesitant from that point in. He didn't want to engage, and then at the end, the knee was just disappointing for me, because I think. I know what it's like to take a body shot. It's a horrible sensation. But when you take a real body shot, you literally you don't have a decision to make. You're involuntarily lying on the floor. You're rolling around the floor. It's severe, just an excruciating pain. Ryan Garcia is on his knee looking at the referee, and I think he's going to get up at 8 or 9. And he stays on his knee, and then he stands up as soon as the 10 count reaches. So I was just a bit disappointed in that, but like, it is what it is. And Tank, I always thought Tank was the favourite in the fight, and he just showed his class. I think he's one of the most exciting fighters that we have in boxing at the minute.
To take that point one step further, would it be fair to say that you think Ryan quit?
Yeah.
And that surprises you? Do you think he could have got up based on what you saw from him? Obviously, you're not him. You're not feeling what he's feeling. But just based on what you saw, you were expecting him to get up and fight on.
Yeah. Well, he did get up. He got up as soon as the 10. It was like, when it got 10, 11, he was up. He was on his feet. So he made a conscious decision that I don't want any more of this. And I understand he may have been in a bit of pain, but it was just. I didn't like it. I didn't like how he quit. He quit. That's it. That's the top and bottom.
He didn't quite say no mas, but do you think that this will plague him throughout his career? Do you think that this will be a label now put on him?
It may, and I think one of the issues with people who do decide to not continue on when they are able to continue on, I think that's just something that's in you. It's hard to get out. You know what I mean? I look at someone like Tank Davis, right? Gervonta Davis. If the roles were reversed, I don't think he stays on his knee. I think he gets back up and he fights and he goes out in a shield. And I think there's just some fighters that do it and some fighters that don't. And I don't know too much about Ryan Garcia. I don't know much about his background or anything. And the lifestyle he came up in or whatever, was he a privileged background or not? I don't really know, but it just looked like the street kid in Gervonta Davis wouldn't have stayed on his knee, is what I'm saying.
He had great success to a degree in the first round. I thought he won the first round. I thought he was winning the second round, but then eventually got dropped. What did he do wrong in that moment? Because it looked like he had him frustrated, but he said afterwards he didn't pounce, that he didn't take advantage of what he was doing towards Tank. What should he have done differently in that second round, in your opinion?
I think he just got a little bit overeager because he was having some success. I think Joe Goosen is one of the best coaches in boxing, and I imagine that he was drilling it into Garcia in the lead up to the fight, that all he had to do was punch fast and from distance and use his feet, stay out of that middle range, don't get stuck in no man's land, don't do too much, don't engage when you don't have to, don't win the rounds by a mile when you can just do enough to win the rounds. And I think he just probably got a little bit overeager. And once he got dropped and hurt, you could see he just became very, very hesitant then.
So you say overeager, and that's what I thought as well. But yet in the post-fight press conference, he said he thought that he should have been more eager in that moment, that he took his foot off the gas. That surprised me.
Nah. I didn't see the post-fight press conference, but it surprised. Well, it doesn't surprise. Boxers say things, and they say silly things sometimes. But I think he got a little bit overeager.
I was lamenting the rehydration clause all week long. I hate that. I wish it didn't exist in any combat sport. I think it's very unhealthy. Do you think, I mean, he had to deal with two things, right? Go down to 136. He's too big for that weight class. Or, 135, he's a 140 pounder these days. And then had to reweigh in by 11 a.m. the next day at 146, right? Do you think any of that then came into play with the body shot and or how he fought on Saturday?
Absolutely. I think that when you're lean, when you have to be really lean, like you feel the shots around the body a lot more. And when I used to fight at my first division was super bantamweight or junior featherweight, as you guys call it, 122 pounds. And I had to be super lean, and little, silly shots used to hurt a little bit, but you kind of ride the storm and get through it. As I went up the weights, I was able to cope and deal with body shots a little bit more. So coming down was always going to be difficult for him. But the rehydration clause that was put in place as well, I just think it was unfair, and it wasn't one. It's one thing bringing the kid down to a weight that he hasn't been to. I don't know if he's ever been down that low, has he?
He has been down that low, but it's been it's been a few fights, yeah.
Okay, so that was one thing, but the rehydration clause, I'm like you, I don't agree with them. I don't think it should have any place in boxing. You should make your weight, and that should be it. There should be no need for a rehydration clause.
And the commissions in particular, I don't necessarily, Tank is going to try to get what he wants to get, right? They're all going to try to play a game, right? He gets the rematch clause, this guy doesn't, but I feel like Nevada should say, no, this is not going to fly. This is unhealthy, right?
Yeah, they need to step in and make the big decisions, but as we've seen with governing bodies, different governing bodies, the states in America and the British Board of Control and whatever, they a lot of times they don't make the decisions that we all want them to make, and they just like to keep people sweet. That's what happens. So I don't think there's any place for a rehydration clause in boxing, and even the IBF rules. So the IBF have a rehydration clause for champions and challengers, which is £10, which is stupid. Surely it should be a percentage if you're going to have one, like the. A minimum weight guy has £10. A cruiserweight also has £10. It just doesn't make sense.
I think this is a great question to ask someone who doesn't live in America, because all week long we were saying face of boxing on the line, face of boxing, face of boxing. As a European, is Tank Davis the face of boxing?
No. He's certainly one of them. I think the face of boxing is still Canelo. That's who I see as the face of boxing. You get guys like Tyson Fury as well. Over here, maybe more so in the UK and Europe, but Usyk is someone that people really love. I wouldn't say Tank Davis at this point is the face of boxing. He could be at some point. He really could be. But although the fight was a massive fight against Tank Davis, there's still some guys ahead of him in the lightweight division. And until he fights them guys, a Loma or a Haney, or maybe even jumps up and there's talk of a Lopez and the winner of Lopez and Taylor, until he fights someone like that, because Ryan Garcia was still fairly untested. He was a very good fighter, but still fairly untested, I would say. You can't call himself the face of boxing just yet.
Who wins, Haney or Tank?
don't know. I don't know.
You can't sit on the fence.
I'd love to see it. Yeah, I know. Haney, I've been beside Haney, and I've spoke to him, and he is a big lightweight. I remember telling him actually that it was before I was fighting Jamel Herring, and I told him I was going up to junior lightweight, and he laughed at me because of how small I was. So he's a big lightweight. Tank is, I think he's my height. He's short. It says 5'5", I think, in the stats, but I think he's even shorter than that. But he's very explosive. I think if he fights Haney and there's no rehydration clauses and they weigh in at the right weight, it's a difficult fight for both guys. But I would just edge Haney.
Is Tank top 10 pound for pound according to you?
I don't know. He's not in the top 5. Definitely not. He might creep into the top 5 or the top 10. But
okay.
I would need to sit down and try and work it all out.
I know. Those lists are tricky, but I do feel like he should be in that discussion. Finally,
Yeah,
I think he should get some of that respect, as should Haney, in my opinion, as well. What do you make of what's going on with Fury now, and now he's teasing another? Like, is this tiring for you? How do you digest all of this?
It is. It's really tiring for me. Like, and for every other boxing fan around the world, we all thought that the Usyk fight was going to happen. Like, I was sure it was going to happen, and obviously working for BT Sport now, I was looking forward to a big Fury Usyk fight week and the build up and everything, and it just never materialized. And it now looks, I'm not sure, but it looks like he's going to be fighting Andy Ruiz, which I'll watch it because, well, I'll be working at the fight, but and I'm always interested in Fury fights, but it's just a bit of a damp squib compared to Usyk. That's the one we really want to see. And I think if, there's talk of the heavyweight tournament and stuff happening at the end of the year, I'll see that. I'll believe that. I want to see it as well. But it's just a little bit frustrating for us all that the big fights, some of the big fights still aren't getting made.
That will mean if that fight happens, that his last 3 fights were fights that no one wanted to see, right? Like, who was asking for him versus White, him versus
I know.
Chisora, right?
White Chisora Ruiz is a bad run for the guy that calls himself the number 1 in the division. And I do you know what? I believe he is. I think that Fury is the number 1 heavyweight on the planet, but that's not an attractive looking run of fights when you break down the record. It's not good enough, I don't think.
More so than the king of boxing or the face of boxing talk, to me, I'm wondering if you agree with the notion that as a result of Tank Garcia getting made, 2 networks coming together, 2 promoters coming together, all that stuff, will this lead to more fights like this getting made, i.e. Haney, Tank, because, one's top ranked, the other one is, with himself and Mayweather, whatever, i.e. Fury, Usyk, i.e. Spence Crawford. Like, will we see more of this stuff now as a result of the success, or do you think it was just kind of like a one-off?
Oh, I hope so. I hope so, but I wouldn't be that confident. I don't know, to be honest. Look, these are things that have happened. I feel like we have this discussion every time there is kind of a crossover platform fights that take place, and it's like, is this good for boxing? Is it going to move forward? Or promoters always going to work with each other? But it doesn't really materialize as we would like. But I would hope that it can happen. I think what the fighters need to have a bit more of a say, and I think they do, rather than using the kind of the promoters and say, well, it's the promoters and the TV channels, I'll fight him, but they don't, we're different networks. I think the fighters, if they put their foot down a little bit more and have a bit more of an opinion and a say on the matter, and try and force the promoters and try and force the networks into putting on these fights, I think then they may start to happen a little bit more.
By the way, I love the clip, and I give you so much credit for this. That clip of John Fury getting in your face last year, and you just walking off. Like, you were not, first of all, you stood tall, you stood right there, you didn't flinch. And then he's just like, get out of here. And you're like, all right. And then it looked like he was even trying to like get you to come back, and you were gone. Internally, though, what were you thinking? What was going on in your mind?
Oh, I was shit. I mean, I was petrified because I kind of was expecting it, because look, I'd never really been that unfair about Tommy Fury, actually. I was just giving an honest opinion, and it was all about the Jake Paul Tommy Fury.
Sure.
I thought Jake Paul was going to win. But that's all I said, really. But John, being a protective father, didn't like it, and he grabbed me pretty tightly by the arm as I walked past. I have a bone to pick with you. I literally shit myself, but I came out of it like it looked much better. Like I came out of that looking, I mean, inside I'm petrified. Like I walked down the corridor and I'm on the phone to my wife, Christine, John Fury just grabbed me. So it looked better for me than what it actually was, but deep down I was frightened.
I don't believe that for a second. You're
No, I wasn't.
Really?
Yeah, but he's a big guy, and I mean, I'm on my own, and
Right.
there's maybe another 20 of the Furies, and big travelers, and all the gang. They were all hanging around. The phones all come out, and yeah, I was genuinely frightened, but I kind of tried to put on a brave face.
Are you guys cool now?
Well, I've seen him a couple of times. We've never really spoken again or anything like that. But it was funny actually. Me and Tyson, that same day, me and Tyson done an interview. Literally an hour after that happened, and I was a wee bit nervous that John was going to come in and sit on the interview and be breathing down my neck, but he didn't come in. And Tyson was as good as gold. And Tyson was okay with it, and we had a fantastic interview. So it's all water under the bridge from me anyway.
I saw your tweet recently celebrating the fact that you're 2 years out of the game now, and you said how happy you are at this stage of your life. And I really do think you do a tremendous job with your commentary. You tell it like it is, which I appreciate. Has it been hard for you at all to transition into sometimes having to tell it like it is? And these are, this is a fraternity. You don't want to upset people, and you have to see how has that been for you?
Yeah, look, it's been easy, really. If I'm being honest, I was probably looking out of boxing. I was kind of questioning whether I wanted to box after the Josh Warrington defeat, which was a couple of years before the Jamel Herring defeat. And I'm not one of these guys who, I know people who love to fight. Like, it was just my job. I don't miss it. I don't miss the early road work sessions. I don't miss the 10 rounds of sparring with guys who are a couple of divisions above you, and I don't miss any of it, really. I'm just happy. Like I like being around my kids and my wife. I spent so much time away in training camps. I'm really content. And the stuff I'm doing with BT is good. It's maybe I'm contracted to them, but I think there's like 20 shows per year, which isn't a lot, but it's just enough to keep me busy and keep me involved in the sport, which I love. But yeah, I'm good. I'm really good at the minute.
Yeah, well, I think you do a great job, and I enjoy that that show that you do, Chatterbox, as well, when they post it on the YouTube channel. When I see it, can I ask you before I let you go? I am buzzing for May 20th, Katie Taylor, the homecoming, and I agreed with another tweet of yours recently where you said, like, the women are showing the men, she didn't have to take this fight. She could have fought me and sold that place out and sold out Croke Park, to be honest, just her alone.
Yeah.
And she's going up to 140 to fight Cameron and to try to become champion over there, undisputed champion. Maybe my favorite fighter. I just love everything about her, how she conducts herself. And I was just curious if you felt the same because of all that she's done and really, like, considering her fame and her notoriety, how she has always just represented the country and the sport in the best way possible, right? Like, there's no controversy around her ever.
No, zero controversy around her. She's like literally like the girl next door. I don't know. I don't think I've ever heard a person say a bad word about Katie. And now we're in a place where I think the UK and Ireland, sometimes anyway, not all the times, but sometimes people can be criticised if someone has a little bit of success. They want to kind of bring them down a peg, but everybody loves Katie, and she's unbelievable. The fight with Chantel Cameron, it's really interesting. We talked about Tank Davis and Ryan Garcia and the catchweight. Katie would have been entitled to ask Chantel maybe to come down to catchweight and meet in the middle somewhere, but she says no. I'll fight you at at 10 stone at light welterweight. So she's moving. The Serrano fight never happened. So she jumps up the division to fight the undisputed, the weight above. I mean, it's like, it's unheard of. It really is. And you have to give her all the credit in the world for that. I imagine Chantel Cameron was licking her lips at the thought that the fight is going to be at 10 stone. I imagine she probably would have went down a little bit if she was asked, because it was such a big fight. But Kitty's, she's a diamond, and she's idolized. And I did say to you on Chatterbox that it may be, if you get to the fight, it may be the best atmosphere. I'm expecting it to be one of, if not the best atmosphere I've ever been involved in.
You think she wins that fight?
It's a difficult fight, and that's why you have to give her so much credit. I know both girls really well. I trained with Katie as an amateur, and the last sort of 3 years, well, actually, I was training with Chantel when I was with the McGuigans, and then I jumped ship, and she followed me quickly behind me, and I trained with her in Manchester. Really good fighter, lovely girl too. She different fighter than Kitty. Kitty's very fast, really good feet. Chantel's a bit more of a brute, like punches hard, genuinely does punch hard. Is fit. Will try and drag Kitty into a dog fight. It's a hard fight to call. I have said, and I'm going to sit on the fence here because I know the two girls.
That's fair.
Really well. I'm never going to pick a winner. And I just hope that whatever happens, it's a fair result, and there's no hometown decisions or anything like that. I just want it to be fair. But it's a difficult one to call. But it's a really, really good fight.
Okay, I'll ask you for 2 picks and then I'll let you go. Jake Paul, Nate Diaz.
Nate Diaz. Nate Diaz is very fit, isn't he?
Yeah,
he
yeah.
Doesn't, like, I mean, he doesn't look like he's fit. Like when you look at his body and his shape, but he's super fit. I think Jake Paul has an issue with blowing out a little bit. I know the weight. It's a
85.
What's the weight? It's
185.
Yes. Yeah. Nate Diaz has never been near that as a mixed martial artist, so that might be an issue. But he's a decent boxer. He's got good hands. Nate Diaz. I'm gonna side with Nate Diaz.
And this one isn't really in the works, but I'm just curious what you'd say. Deontay Wilder, Francis Ngannou.
I think Wilder, because if it's in boxing, because it's they're different sports, and I think I always think it's a little bit unfair for the MMA guys to come to the boxing world, because they have to be good at so many different things, and there may be one day a week where they're punching or learning how to box, and they're doing so much other things. It's gotta be Wilder. It has to be, but in a cage or an octagon, I mean, it's a 30-second job, and Francis wins.
I would like to correct something, because when we were talking on the show last week on Chatterbox on BT, we were talking about how it's so hard for boxers to go over MMA over to MMA, and I mentioned James Toney being the highest profile one. There is one that I failed to mention that I remembered afterwards, and I was so mad about, who had tremendous success, who will go into the Boxing Hall of Fame and the UFC Hall of Fame when it's all said and done. Holly Holm.
Go on.
Holly Holm.
Oh, Holly Holm. I thought you were going to say Conor McGregor, and I was going, what? You can't say that.
Holly Holm. Holly Holm.
Holly Holm.
Right? She's the only one.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I completely forgot about her as well.
That's on me.
And McGregor was from a boxing background as well.
No. I'm talking about...
He was an amateur, like,
no. Holly Holm. Holly Holm is the answer. Carl, lovely to have you on. Thank you so much. Keep up the great work with BT. Really appreciate this, and looking forward to working with you again.
Thanks, mate. All
right.
the best.
There he is, Carl Frampton, joining us from BT Sport. Tremendous insight.